Jenna Coleman takes on the demons of her past while trying to solve a murder in the present in the new BBC and Hulu limited series, The Jetty. It's a quick watch, but is it even worth it? DI Ember Manning must figure out how a fire at a vacation home is connected to a podcast journalist investigating a missing persons cold case and an illicit love triangle between a man in his 20s and two underage girls. Coleman is DCI Ember Manning, and she's partnered with Archie Renault from Netflix's Shadow and Bone as they get caught up in intersecting cases involving underage girls, a podcaster, a missing young woman, and arson. Now, this is only 4 episodes, and while they are about an hour each, this is a patiently told and sometimes slow crime drama. And there are basically 2 timelines that we watch play out. One from the past, where a teenager named Amy disappeared, and then in the present, where DCI Manning is investigating an arson that happened at a building that her dead husband used to own. You following that? Well, during this time, a podcaster has arrived from out of town with the intent of investigating the disappearance of Amy, hoping to either spur on a revitalized investigation or maybe uncover the truth herself. Now, for as much as this is a crime drama, this is also a family one, centered around Amy and her dysfunctional and absent parents, her friend Kitty and her overbearing family, plus Ember, her daughter and mom, as well as a pregnant teenager whose story works to add additional complications within the plot. All of the family relationships we watch play out are pretty sad, where there's a rift between parents and kids, with each kind of dismissing the others, leading to loneliness or isolation, which then in turn opens the door for opportunistic people to prey on the teens. And while the story is complex, just simply thanks to the 2 main mysteries that are playing out, it's also very convoluted because one of the arcs isn't wholly necessary for the mystery. I mean, it works to reinforce the message of crimes against underage girls and how important that topic is, but for the main mystery, it's only tangentially related, and then it feels more like a distraction a lot of the time. Now, most of the characters, they're not fleshed out, and they feel a lot like strangers. For Amy, Kitty, Ember, and Malachi, Ember's dead husband, we do get background on them, or at least development to understand who they are, which then makes their motivations and actions plausible. They're all still a bit one-dimensional, though. I mean, Amy, she's the bad girl. She's rebellious, has daddy issues, and is always looking to shock people. Kitty is a straight-laced girl who can be corrupted thanks to her naivete and then sheltered background. Malachi's the bad boy, the couldn't-care-less attitude and semi-slacker. I mean, we only see him as a young man, never as Ember's husband. So in this show, he's very simply defined. And Ember herself is emotionally damaged from a free-spirited mom and lackadaisical upbringing. She's emotionally stunted and is sort of locked in time as far as her development feels. Ember is also a difficult character to connect with, especially as we watch her make questionable decisions as the case progresses. Her dynamics with just about every character are explosive or angry, making her abrasive and then hard to root for, even when she's in vulnerable situations. And the rest of the cast are even less developed. I mean, many are just kept as strangers with forgettable presences. Even Ember's daughter is just background, adding a bit of drama for Ember and allowing for an emotional tie to her dead dad, but for the main arc, she unfortunately barely contributes. There's even an appearance from the awesome Ralph Ineson, and while he commands the scenes thanks to his bassy voice and just towering demeanor, his character is written to be a run-of-the-mill inspector. His character doesn't have anything special to do other than reprimand Ember or keep the team in line. And that kind of describes all of the players within this. They're there, and they create characters for the story, but they're not dynamic or intriguing. Archie Renault's character Hitch is situated to be like a rookie cop, never given any responsibility and only truly receiving the dysfunctionality that Ember gives off. Now, the best part of this mystery is watching the flashback story play out as it leads closer and closer to the time when Amy disappears. Now, I became engaged in that portion because as info comes to light, it casts shadows on certain characters, possibly making them out to be way more sketchy than originally thought. And the parallel pursuit that Ember undertakes within the cold case, it's also intriguing, keeping me watching and wanting to learn more, along with trying to figure it out myself before it was revealed. But there are so many distractions within this that the central storyline just gets lost in the shuffle at different points throughout the series. And again, because this is only 4 episodes, the story needs to be tight and contained so the mystery can be solved, but also complex enough that it's not an easily guessed solution. And while I think you probably can guess some of what happens, other elements are kept very close to the vest, so thankfully they're hard to solve on their own. And because this does have story tangents, the pacing for the show as a whole, it becomes exceedingly slow. As we get towards the finale, there is a bit of mounting tension and urgency, but up until that moment, the story just kind of meanders through the plot without the feeling of oomph. So overall, The Jetty has a solid concept, mixing a cold case with a current crime in a small town, but the storytelling falls short and becomes preoccupied with non-essential arcs, dragging down the drama and pace, which is then further hampered by undynamic and one-dimensional characters. Stronger story development and a concerted focus on the central plot would make this more engaging, mysterious, and then ultimately satisfying. There's sex, some brief nudity, a ton of profanity, and some violence. I give The Jetty 2.5 out of 5 couches. So have you seen any good crime dramas lately? I'd love to hear about a great one in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.